And here at Fox Sports Kansas City, we always comply with the Federal Communications Commission's rule that if you are broadcasting a live sporting event and there is a full moon, you must have at least one shot of that full moon during the game broadcast.
I like that rule. It's a beautiful planet.
Well, it's a moon.
That looks like a planet to me.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's school day at the K. I'm going to go out and see.
Maybe they can cover the whole star, planet, and moon concept.
That might be good. I need to be refreshed a little, I guess.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to Yals Truly. This is Simon here. Tonight I'm joined by Zach and Kyle. We'd like to say a quick prayer for Brian. We think he went to bed, but as you know, at his old age, there's no guarantee he's going to wake up. So thoughts and prayers with him and his family as we begin this podcast. The Royal season's underway, about a week worth of games in, and obviously not the best start. We're 2-6, winning the first two games, but now currently on a 6-game losing streak and still building. Lot to talk about. Found out a lot about the team in this first segment, but maybe some of it a surprise, maybe some of it not so much of a surprise. So, Kyle, I'll start with you. What are your general thoughts on these first 8 games?
It's been very brutal to watch, but we kind of talked about this the last time when we were talking about our concerns with the bullpen. A lot of arms in there that we know aren't very good. A lot of arms that were big question marks that we'd be kind of surprised if they were good, and that's shown itself. That's really manifested itself in these first 8 games. The biggest takeaway obviously is the bullpen, but you know, the offense is also very feast and famine, like we saw today with Tyson Ross. Bats just went silent. I mean, you owe some of that to Tyson Ross. He did great, but there just wasn't very much offensive production. So that's my takeaway.
Yeah, I agree. I guess not today certainly, but I think through the first 8 games, I've actually been pleasantly surprised with the offensive production we've gotten, especially from some certain players. And I think that's what makes this start so disappointing is 2-6, obviously not good at all, especially for a team that needs to get off to kind of an encouraging start. That seems out the window at this point. But I feel like we really could be 6-2 in some ways. I mean, you know, you obviously probably don't win all those games, but we certainly were in a lot of those games, and really it just came down to the bullpen not doing their job. And I think that's what's most frustrating is, it seems like in a lot of these losing streaks early in the year, our bats are silent. They're just not, we get one or two runs every game. There's no hope. We're putting up some good at bats. We're putting some runs on the board. We're just not closing these games out. And I think that's really why this is so discouraging for me right now. Zach, what are your thoughts?
It's tough to watch. I'm starting to think Dayton Moore actually put together a worse team than we had last year, which I didn't think was possible. But from the offensive standpoint, 1 through 4, that's good. But then once you get to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's brutal. It's just strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. Owings is playing every day, and he doesn't deserve it. He's been horrible.
Yeah, and to that point, I think the new additions on the offensive end so far, you want to talk about Maldonado and Owings, pretty much been, Hamilton as well, but Hamilton's been all right. He's had a few good games. He had 3 hits today, not bad. He's kind of just been, some days he's hitting, some days he's not. But really, Owings and Maldonado, those two especially, those guys are rough, man. Those guys aren't getting on base. They're really just not providing much at all. And that's why we brought him in for. It's almost like if we're scoring, like you mentioned, Zach, it's going to be those top 5. I kind of like today's lineup, even though we only scored a run. I thought it was a little more balanced, at least. Obviously not good, but it was. I kind of liked how it played out. I kind of like that better. I mean, maybe flip Gallagher for Maldonado. But really, to be honest, it's without Owings in there. I think it was he's been pretty worthless so far. So
it's funny because when was the last time we said we liked a Ned Yost lineup on a Sunday? It's been a while.
That's the weird thing. I think it was accidental. I think that was his trash lineup, but it ended up. I mean, it had balance. I know. I mean, it sounds weird because we only scored a run, but it didn't seem like today, like after the first 4 hitters, like it was just a bunch of outs. So I mean, maybe that's because Billy was hitting today. And, Gallagher was putting some at bats. And I guess, Dozier, he homered yesterday and Dozier's been down there, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't think Ned's necessarily been putting out the best lineup so far, but, we'll see, if he adjusts or anything.
I still think
really,
I think some credits owed to Tyson Ross, reclamation project the Tigers got. I know he started against the Yankees and had a decent game. It was just short of a quality start, but today you definitely saw that quality start stuff. Those guys were just whiffing. And I mean, it wasn't even like it was terrible at bats. They were just good pitches. So that really hurts.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Some of those sliders and, he was throwing it. Actually, he had a lot of curves as well. They were just breaking right, down and away, right on the corner. I mean, those were unhittable pitches. And, Tyson Ross, the guy, he has some good stuff. He's, kind of, had some up and down moments through his career, but he's a talented pitcher. Not to blow the opponent's horn too much, but I mean, it was a solid performance from him. I'm not too worried about the offense after one bad game, but I am worried about the bullpen. Very worried about it.
I thought it was funny today that the bullpen didn't give up any runs, of course, when we were down.
Of course, yes.
They can't take the pressure, and
they're in their own head.
It's annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, the bullpen, if you just take the score out of it, they were good enough today to win, but of course then we get shut out. And that's just how Royals fans are no stranger to long losing streaks in the month of April. And I've seen this before. When these things happen, you can't find that formula to get a win. And I mean, maybe at some point you break out of it, and obviously I don't think it's going to be enough this year with the talent on this roster, but maybe enough to win some games. But no, it's just really frustrating. It kind of all starts from one game. I feel like that Twins game on Monday was a real crusher, and it kind of just deflated the team pretty early on.
I think it just the team saw, the players aren't dumb. They're paying attention, and they saw, the travesty that we saw. And their worst fears were kind of confirmed. So it makes it a lot more difficult as a player to perform at your best when one aspect of your team has really struggled.
Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely. What happens, especially with the bullpen situation, is as an offense, it feels like you can play a good, 7 innings, get your team in a position to win, and then it can all be wasted in, an inning or two. And it's like, there's nothing more cancerous to a locker room, in my opinion, than a bad bullpen, because typically it's just a few guys. You can be a good team, but not win just because of a bullpen. I mean, you got to be able to close games out. And, I think it's really not good, especially this early in the year, for locker room morale. Because we haven't seen any success out of these guys yet. You're wondering when's it going to happen. I'm sure it'll happen at some point, but at this point in the year, this is about the worst time it could happen.
Well, look at Monday and Tuesday, and actually even Thursday. Mondesi hits that big inside the park home run, gives everybody life, and then the bullpen comes in and blows it. Then the next day, Gordon hits a 3-run home run, and we go up 6-3, I think.
Yeah, 6-3.
Think we're going to win that. Bullpen comes in and blows that. And then yesterday, Dozier hit a big home run. Grand slam to nobody player. I mean, yeah. There's no way you can. The offense can keep coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. And, another thing is, too, is I've seen times, every bullpen has that one guy where you whenever he comes in, even good bullpens, even on the 15 bullpen, didn't we have, or might have been 14, we have Crow or Collins or someone like that. We just cringe whenever you got in the game. But it's not, you pretty much cringe when anyone's in the game. I mean, we've seen probably 5 different players blow games so far. We had Peralta twice, you had Kennedy, you had Boxberger, you had Diekman on Wednesday or Tuesday, or the second Twins game. And there's just no combination. Zimmer on Thursday, I mean, they're taking turns right now. It's that's not good. I mean, they can't find a guy to throw a scoreless inning right now, at least, with the lead. Let alone, find the combination to close out a game. I mean, they're a long ways away from really getting this thing sorted out.
That's the thing, is it's not even just one guy. I just hear bullpen, and all of a sudden I'm reaching for the heart pills. Like, oh boy.
Yeah, there's no face I attribute this to. It's the whole thing.
That's on Dayton Moore. Hasn't put any money into the pitching, which makes no sense because he knows that's what actually made us good.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
I guess he is tanking in a way.
Yeah, and we'll get into that more in a minute because that's really the main thing I want to touch on tonight. Especially after last year's debacle in the bullpen is, really not even improving it. But one thing I do want to touch on real quick or ask you guys about is how do you guys feel about the starting pitching performances so far this year? Because I think that's been another bright spot. Right? I think we've had some really good starts through this point in the year.
Yeah, Keller and Junis have been, pretty much as good as you could ask. Junis has labored a little bit, but Keller especially has been really exceptional. Lopez has only been okay-ish, but, when we're talking about pitching, you compare it to the bullpen, it's like night and day. The starting pitching's getting it done. They're getting a good enough job with this offense done to win games. And then we hand it to the bullpen, and that's where, it just completely unravels, and then you just want to smash your head against a wall. So I've been surprised. Well, not surprised, but I've been
even Homer.
Hopeful.
He pitched a quality start, I think.
Yeah.
He gave up
he had a
runs.
respectable start. I mean, that's about he'll probably be our fifth starter once, everything kicks in here. And I mean, that's about as good as a start as you can ask for a guy like Homer Bailey. So we're getting this, everything's lining up to get some early wins, on kind of a softer schedule here, but it just shows you the power of the bullpen. In this new era of baseball, you kind of see like really how important a good bullpen is. And I mean, you can see it right here. It's make or break a team, and it's definitely breaking the Royals right now. I mean, 2-6 is not a good record, and you can really put that all on the bullpen. I mean, I know it's a team game, but realistically, I think with an average bullpen, we're 5-3, which is saying something.
100%.
So, yeah,
6-2, honestly.
Yeah, 6-2 probably, the way some of these games have just unraveled.
I'll give I'll give an average bullpen. They might blow a game that we did, but definitely could be 6-2. Yeah,
I can honestly see us losing 20 straight, maybe more. I'm serious. Like, we look at our 7-game homestand coming up. We have Seattle; they're in first place, and Cleveland. Good. I mean, they'll crush us. I have no hope anymore.
I wouldn't be surprised if we don't grab a win on that homestand, really at all.
Yeah,
I mean, Seattle's absolutely crushing the baseball right now. I mean, they took it to the White Sox. I mean, they're getting seems like 8 or 9 runs at least every game.
Yeah, their bullpen is awful too.
Yeah, doesn't matter when you're scoring that many, but it actually probably it would. I mean, I'm guessing they're not Royals bad as far as the bullpen goes, so they can still kind of hang in there. But I mean, they're crushing the baseball, and then obviously you got the Indians, heavy favorites in the division. And we're already on 6 in a row. So, this thing needs to stop ASAP. I mean, what we started last year, 4-15, and basically, it just took the life out of the entire season. I mean, I know this isn't expected to be, a winning season, but it's pretty hard when you don't have any hope, like right from the outset. At least, give us that false hope and stop this thing right now and win some games. But, I gotta agree with Zach. I don't see it happening. I just don't think we have, many formulas to get wins. I think the only way you really can win right now is if the starter goes very deep in the game, maybe a complete game, maybe 8 innings if you have a big enough lead, or the offense just really explodes. And because this bullpen seems like if they're going to pitch 3 or 4 innings, they're going to give up 5 runs or so. And I don't think that's an exaggeration the way they're pitching right now.
I look at Tuesday's game against Seattle, though. The only good chance I'd say we have ending this losing streak is Junis on the mound against Seattle. I think that might be our only real good hope because we have Bailey starting it off, and then it's kind of undecided for Wednesday and Thursday. But
we're facing King Felix tomorrow as well. So
but we've beaten him many times.
We have, but Bailey out there, obviously his first start was okay. He missed a quality start by an inning. But Seattle bats, Homer Bailey, get your gloves in the outfield.
One thing about the starting pitching, I want to say, it's been good, but the pitch count's been up, and that's a big problem for us.
I totally agree. With the bullpen, it's
like 8 innings, we'll have a better chance to win. But they gotta be more efficient pitch-wise.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Zach. And obviously walks have been, kind of the main theme.
Yeah.
If you listen to any of these broadcasts, they've kind of been harping on the walks. And I mean, I agree. And to be fair there, well, the bullpen is obviously, the ringleader. They've been walking, hitting guys, any sort of free bases you can hand out. They're finding how to do it. But then the starters they've walked quite a few as well. And, it seems like they're kind of getting themselves in jams. Sometimes they get themselves out of it, but yeah, like you said, bullpens has to come in the 5th or 6th inning. That's not, we're not going to win. So they need to find a way to get deeper in these games. And, it's kind of frustrating, like a guy like Keller as well, because Keller was like, last year he was very efficient. Like he'd have all these really low pitch counts and that's, get these ground balls on the 3rd pitch. And he just kind of do that all game. And, but yeah, we're kind of like all got that Danny Duffy syndrome going right now, it seems like.
Oh. That's the pain. I just think of Keller, it's the league's kind of figuring him out a little bit. They're going to start, being able to put it together better at bats against him now that there's more film. We've seen 8 walks in his 3 starts, which isn't terrible, but it's a sign that can definitely inflate pitch counts. Even just, beside that, his whip is actually really good. It's hovering around 1. Mm-hmm. So he's on pace, but I would imagine that he'll labor a little bit more this year. Kind of like how Junis did last year in his, his second year. We saw that kind of slump.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a pretty good comparison. And you look at all 3 of Keller's starts to this point. I thought the first start, the opening day start, was phenomenal. I don't have much to pick on that one. The last 2 starts, they were, definitely pretty solid starts. 6 innings, 3 runs, I think, against Minnesota, and 6 and 3 again today, or 6 and 3 today. So 2 quality starts there. But he's had to find different ways to get outs than he traditionally would. I believe, I could be wrong, he's actually struck out more guys than he typically has been. But it's almost like you can tell his stuff isn't there, but he's somehow fighting his way through it. And I give him credit for that. I mean, he's a tough pitcher, and I'm really impressed with his poise. He can battle through some situations, but I agree. I think it's definitely going to catch up with him unless he can get back to this form of last year.
With Keller, we were talking a few weeks ago about him being the opening day starter. There were some question marks, but I think he's all but silenced anybody, including myself a little bit. I had my doubts and reservations, but he's certainly proved to be the best overall pitcher on the team so far. Absolutely,
yeah. If you, I agree with the decision completely in hindsight. You give me, obviously not going to probably apply to this year's team, but 1 game playoff right now, you give me, I'm taking Keller all day. I mean, feel more comfortable when he's on the mound. He's got a good mound presence. He delivers quick. He just kind of, not saying, he's definitely not like a bona fide major league ace at this point, but not even close. But he's definitely a solid 2.
He's a 2, 3, 4 on most teams.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. What are you guys' thoughts on Jorge Lopez so far? It was interesting, watching both of his games.
I'm not too impressed by him so far. He gets ahead of hitters, but he can never finish them off.
Yeah.
That was his problem Saturday.
To that point, Zach, that's been something, getting ahead and like kind of like letting guys back in the count, like getting ahead 0-2, 1-2. I've noticed that seems to be a problem for the Royals pitching staff, even like good pitchers that the Royals have had for several years. Like even when we were very good, I always thought like 0-2 didn't mean as much for us as it would for other teams. I don't have any stats on that. It just kind of feels like that. I don't know if that's a pitching coach thing. Maybe they teach them to nibble too much, because it seems like generally the whole staff has more trouble putting guys away 0-2. So I don't know what's going on there.
Could be Salvi who's calling the pitches.
That's definitely true too. It's probably a combination of things, but just something I've always noticed. And
with Lopez, it's on my end. I think with Lopez, it's been about what I expected. He's got an ERA around 4. Yeah, like Zach said, he kind of has trouble finishing off pitchers. He only has 8 strikeouts in his 11 innings. That kind of tells me that he doesn't have the best stuff, which we kind of knew. But his whip's low, so the walks aren't terribly high, which is good. So his control, maybe he's just nibbling too much. I've been, with Keller, Junis, Lopez, Bailey, I would say he's been solid, serviceable. There's the word I'm looking for. Nothing spectacular, but it certainly could be a lot worse.
Yeah. And, to that point, I think Lopez has always kind of looked as more of maybe a project. It was a little bit of a risk, seen as a little bit of a risk. So, I think with a guy like that, you got to be patient as well. I think he's got a little ways to go, but, he's got some promising days ahead, it would appear. So, he's had some serious moments of, I guess you'd say, vulnerability on the mound this year where he looks to implode. But, I thought yesterday again, kept his team in the game, which is really something the starters, maybe except for Lopez's first start, they've all done, throughout this, early part of the season. And, Lopez is no exception.
And Detroit's offense isn't.
I don't think we've actually, seen a bad pitching game by the starter yet. But I'm pretty sure we'll see one this homestand.
We're going to see one probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, as good of or not wouldn't even say it was good, but as, as respectable of a start Homer Bailey's first one was, I don't know if that's going to continue. I don't really think he's a very good pitcher. His ERA has been, 5 or 6 for the past 3 or 4 years. I think that's pretty much what he is at this point. I don't have really high. I think we're basically, we're at a 6-game losing streak, but you can almost chalk it up as 7. I'll eat crow if I have to, but I don't feel good about that game tomorrow.
I'll be happy to eat crow in this case.
All day, yeah.
I think up to 30, but that's me.
This Mariners homestand, though, if you're looking for bad baseball, lots of runs, it's going to be exciting to watch. It's not going to be those 1-0 sleepers we've had with the Mariners in the past. This is going to be those 10-8, 9-11 type of finishes.
Definitely,
you're saying Seattle has bad pitching?
Bullpen. Starting pitching's solid, but their bullpen is pretty not good.
I don't know if I agree with that, Kyle, just because you look at the Mariners lineup and, I don't know really. I don't know if I necessarily disagree either, but just to kind of play devil's advocate here, that Seattle lineup is kind of suspect, if you just look at the names, but it's been hitting like crazy through the early part of the year, so I don't know.
Right, there'll be regression to the mean for sure.
Yeah,
we'll see that.
But I don't think it's a bad offense. Best hitter, probably. They still have Haniger. Thinking of someone else. Tim Beckham, D. Gordon.
Vogelbach.
Yeah, a lot of kind of these under the radar sort of players. Ryan Healy, I believe they have now, or did they trade him? No, I think they have Healy. I think I'm missing someone.
And then of course you got Edwin.
Edwin, that's right. That's the big bat I'm missing.
He's a big bat, yeah. He's always been dangerous, even though, his later years have we haven't seen the same as we did, earlier in his career. He's still a huge power threat.
Yeah, and they also have, remember Malik Smith, kind of an underrated leadoff hitter, center fielder from, he played on Tampa last year. He's a pretty good player in my opinion. But yeah, they're a decent lineup, top to bottom.
D. Gordon. It's never a bad name.
Yeah, I know D. Gordon. I wouldn't say they're necessarily, you just look at them player for player. I wouldn't say they're a bad lineup. They don't really stand out at you necessarily, but they're they're the best offense in baseball so far this year. So
yeah, now that I don't see standing through the whole season.
No way. Yeah, I think they're definitely gonna, like you said, regress to the mean here at some point. I don't know if the Royals have the recipe right now to start that regression to the mean, however.
If anything, we might actually tilt their division a bit more in Mariners' favor in the AL West.
They're 8-2 right now, which is a really hot start. 9-2, yeah, that's right. They won again today.
29 run differential. That's wow. This early.
Baseball's weird, so you never know. This could actually be what we need.
Well, imagine the ramifications if they sweep us. They'll be 13-2, and Houston right now sitting at 500. Yikes! I mean, it's really early, but that's the kind of start you really want as a team who wants to compete.
Yeah.
Oh.
However, the Mariners, I will say, they've had this. Well, at least last year, they kind of got off to a hot start like this. Not this hot, but they did get off to a hot start, and eventually, yeah, they kind of cooled down come August or late July, even really.
Kind of like how the Rockies.
They finished like 16 games over. The AL was just too good last year.
Yeah, they were a good team last year, no doubt about it. Yeah, I kind of think, gut predictions coming into this next homestand, I think we're going to take 1 of 3. I think we'll get a game versus the Mariners. I mean, I can't, I know we're playing bad baseball right now, which is hard to predict in the major leagues.
It's a 4-game series.
4-game.
Yeah, I think we'll take 1 of 4. I don't know which game necessarily. I don't think we win tomorrow. I think we'll take 1 of the next 3.
I agree. I think it'll be the Junis game.
Tuesday's game.
It's our best shot.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Wednesday, you're going to have I don't know who's going to be starting Wednesday. Probably won't be Lopez. He started on Saturday, so I don't know who you're putting in that one. Duffy's not ready yet. Maybe you start Philmeyer or Oaks or someone like that. Uh-oh. So that's not looking too good right there. And then probably Lopez again on Thursday. So, yeah.
It's going to be tough.
Definitely. And then Indians are, they just swept the Blue Jays. I believe maybe they took 3 or 4, but they had a good series against the Blue Jays. I know they won the series. They're starting to get going a little bit. They swept them, yeah.
4-game series.
Yeah. That could be the series that cools our bats down, because obviously they got a pretty good starting pitching staff right there.
It's interesting that we talked about where would you like to see the Royals after the first 10 games, and we were talking about 6-4 would be really realistic and good. Mm-hmm. We're 2-6. We might go, we could end this and we'll end up being 3-9 if, we take 1 of 4, and then we're going against the Indians. And this is the soft part of our schedule because it gets worse. We have the Phillies, we have Houston coming up, New York. I mean, we have to take 3 or 4 if we even want a shot at being competitive.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And, that's kind of I think we talked about this on some of our preseason pods is, this stretch at the beginning of the year, White Sox, Twins, Tigers, that's a very doable stretch. And for us to go 2-6, that's huge. And, it's going to, like you said, we're playing Rays, Phillies, Yankees coming up here soon. I mean, that's more of a stretch you'd expect to go 2-6 in. But,
and one more thing here. We went, I believe we had a good chunk of our wins against these teams that we played. Chicago, Minnesota, Detroit. I think we went 28-29 against them. So they were 28 of our 57 wins.
Last year, didn't we did much better against the AL Central in general than like the rest of baseball. Like we were bad still, but
that's a testament to how weak the AL Central was, honestly. It's so bad at the bottom.
Didn't we didn't win besides the Orioles, we probably won 3 or 4 games against the Orioles last year. Because they were even worse than us, but I don't we were so bad against the AL East last year.
They beat us most of the games we played.
The Orioles, I believe. Yeah. Did we sweep them? No. I know we at least won the series in Kansas City. We might have lost in Camden Yards because we had that big what was it, a 9-run inning or 10-run inning or something in Camden, the one game last year, first inning. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, and then we lost the next 2.
Yeah, we lost the next 2, but
I know we ended up sweeping them here. I think
that's what I thought. Late
August or September. Yeah. Oh man, that was if I remember right, there was a game that Cashner started, and that was just disgusting. We ended up with 9 runs or something. It was a good game.
Yeah, Witt hit a walk-off homer in one of those games. We were down. Yeah.
So. I mean, but they were even worse than we were. Unbelievable. They finished 115 losses, one of the worst records ever.
Oh, they were awful. I mean, yeah, that's the one thing that kind of kept me off the ledge last year is as bad as the Royals were, no one really even cared because the Orioles were overshadowing us. The one time you wanted to be overshadowed, the one time you wanted the Royals traditional overshadowedness, it was like finally in our favor. So that was good. Yeah, just getting back to this bullpen though, and this is kind of the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight because it's obviously the biggest problem with the team right now. I just think this is really unacceptable for Dayton Moore. You knew going into the season after it was a terrible bullpen performance last year, which you're facing. You lose Maurer, obviously not a big loss, but you lose a few guys, you lose a few names out of that pen. So, right off the bat there, you're thinking, we're even worse. I mean, these were pitchers that were, given the spots over guys who are that we're planning on bringing up. And I know we went out and got some guys to replace them, such as Boxberger and Deepman, but, and Storin as well, though who knows how he'll be spotted. But I mean, this is major leagues. You gotta address your spots. You can't be cheap about it. You gotta go out and get field a respectable product. I'm not saying this bullpen could be, good necessarily, but to have Ian Kennedy as your closer, I think that's completely unacceptable, to be honest. And it's as a fan, I think the fans should be pretty angry about what general managers let us put on the field this year. And that's kind of the main thing I've been thinking this whole early stretch of the season so far.
I wholeheartedly agree. It blows my mind that one of your better arms was Peralta, and I'm just sitting here this guy's been pretty garbage for a while. The book's been out for years, and this is one of our better arms in the pen. Boxberger's been there's just a
average
lot of
average at best.
At best, yeah.
Terrible on a decent bullpen, Boxberger's probably your fourth or fifth. He's probably your fifth best reliever. He's a very sixth, if you wanted, the traditional inning role, he'd be a fifth or sixth inning guy. He's basically if you want to compare it to say the 15 bullpen, I feel like he'd be the sixth best guy in the bullpen. He'd be probably maybe the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
The pitcher that's really concerned me the most is Kevin McCarthy. We've seen him just getting beat around. He's given up a lot of hits. His whip's over 3. We always knew he threw garbage. He never had a great pitch. But the thing is, you don't have to have a great pitch as always. It's location, location, location. You get the corners, and I've just seen him leaving stuff over the plate. Hittable pitches. He's just been kind of erratic. He's been walking guys. It's just a recipe for disaster when you have a guy who throws what he does. So that's really alarming to me.
Yeah, and to your point on McCarthy, I've actually always personally thought, what is this, McCarthy's third year in the league? I would never say McCarthy's good necessarily, but last year in our bullpen, he wasn't the guy cringed necessarily the most at seeing. I felt at times he could get us,
did pretty
put some zeros up.
Considering what he was throwing, I'll take a 3.2 ERA any day of the week. Same with, his first year, maybe not so much, but you saw it last couple of years. He threw, he didn't throw 7 or 8 innings a year. He was throwing 50, 60 innings pitched, 3 ERA. Wasn't throwing great stuff, but locating it really well. And I just think this year we haven't seen that. And so I'm concerned because that was supposed to be one of our premier arms in a sense.
Well, that's pathetic that he's one of your premier arms.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm getting to on my mini rant there, if you will. I just don't think that's right for the fans. I know we're a rebuilding team, but bullpen arms traditionally aren't valued to the same extent as other positions are in the financially. So I feel like there was opportunities. I like the Boxberger signing. I think that's a good signing, even though he hasn't performed well. But I think there was, some guys we really could have jumped on, and we just kind of stood back, and instead we wanted Billy Hamilton, and I like Billy Hamilton so far. He seems like a cool player. I don't mean to say that to hate on him or anything. It just seems like there was no real definite plan to improve. By this management this past off season. And I think we're gonna pay for it this season.
If you told me that the goal in the off season was to have an even worse bullpen than last year, I would have believed you, 100%. Looking at this, yep, there you go. That's a product that'll net you an 8.5 ERA from the bullpen all year.
Well, the thing you got to remember about last year's bullpen was terrible, but we won a lot of games. You got to consider this: we had Keller, in the early part of the season, Keller was in the bullpen, and until the trade deadline, we had Herrera as well. Well, not the trade deadline; he got traded in like June, but we had Herrera for the early part of the season, and those two were able to bring us some wins. We don't have Herrera and Keller. I mean, Keller's a starter now. We don't have Herrera. There's no one to lean on. I mean, they're going to be like this all year. That's and later in the year, the bullpen was maybe about this bad. But yeah, we were horrible in July last year. I mean, that's the same bullpen pretty much. Same quality of bullpen as we're throwing out there right now. So yeah, we don't have those early season wins off of a good arm like Herrera this year as well.
Yeah, when the arms you're leaning on are Peralta, Dykman, and Boxberger, you're going to lose a lot of games.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it like you go back to when we were good and you see how passionate the fans are about the Royals baseball. And then you expect them to pay money to go see the product you put on the field. I mean, it's like an insult because I don't think these guys could even strike out a Little League team. And I'm not even saying that as a joke.
I agree. They'd probably walk everyone, man. They probably,
A lot of hit batters.
Oh, that's fun.
Knock the little kid like 10 feet back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, to be honest. And I think, and I gotta put some blame on Ned because I don't think Ian Kennedy should be closing games. Like, I think like, as you said, Kyle, I don't think Peralta is that great, but I'd probably rather see him close or Boxberger close than Ian Kennedy.
Well, you've seen how volatile Kennedy's been. He's gotten out of some jams he won't all year. There's no way.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it just shows you, like, if Kennedy's even in consideration to be in your closer role, I know, we don't really have a closer necessarily, but, like, he's typically the guy who's getting thrown out there in the ninth right now if we have the lead. I mean, the fact that he's in consideration just, like, makes me sick, to be honest. Like, that's pathetic.
I wouldn't even wish that on, that kind of a curse on the Twins.
Oh, yeah. Nah,
I hate Gills more than anybody. But I can't even blame him for this because no matter who he puts out there, it's going to be the same thing.
Well, exactly. That's the thing. I guess one guy, I do think Boxberger, you want to look for, like, some sort of positives. I don't, like, Boxberger's not great, but I do think he's, like, a little better than I think he'll improve. So I think we'll get something out of him that we haven't seen so far. Maybe Zimmer. Zimmer was awful on Thursday. I mean, maybe he could be something eventually here too. I think Peralta is going to regress compared to last year. I mean, he gave up the grand slam yesterday. He did a nice job getting out of that bases loaded jam on one of those Twins games. But yeah, I mean, there's really not much like this. It is what it is at this point for the most part. I mean, that's the scariest part. It's I don't think this is just a slump, so to say. Maybe they'll get a little better, but this is just what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this isn't even the worst. This is just the average,
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be a few games where they put some zeros up by chance and, we'll get some wins off them, but it's
there'll be that
not going to be often.
There'll be that infamous 10-run inning game where 4 different pitchers come out.
Yeah, we walk 7 straight batters or something like that. No, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all with this team. This truly, and I mean, this is going to sound like a major over-exaggeration or hot take. I don't remember a worse major league bullpen composition than the one we have right now. I honestly don't. Maybe the Tigers and I'm sure there's been some worse, but that I can think off the top of my head. Maybe the Tigers a few years ago, but they had an amazing starting pitching staff. Like we have an average at best starting pitching staff, and a really good offense, so they could kind of get away with it to some extent. But we don't have that, so it's gonna get ugly.
Yeah, I agree. At least in recent memory, I don't remember a bullpen being this futile. Like your worst bullpen ERAs in an average season are 5, and I could honestly see this being a 6 or 7 type of ERA bullpen, especially when we're going to be shifting guys in and out from Omaha and stuff, I imagine. I remember Arizona, in 2010, Arizona had a pretty terrible bullpen, because I have a friend who's a big Arizona fan, and just every time runs would be given up, it was unbelievable. They had an ERA over 6. So that's the only one I can remember being this bad.
Yeah. Who is the lowest currently? I mean, I know it's early, like ERA isn't necessarily that important or that valuable at this point in the year, but who is the lowest ERA currently in our bullpen? Or like what is the lowest ERA? I don't know if you know, but it's
in our bullpen or the league?
No, just out of our bullpen. I'll be curious to see who it was.
I don't think Chris Ellis has given up a run yet, or Tim Hill.
He's not on the team anymore.
Right, which is kind of the funny part.
Yeah.
But Tim Hill hasn't given up a run. So that's
I feel
about
like,
it.
Didn't Tim Hill, he had like some really shaky outings though.
Yeah, he's been walking guys.
Or like he came
on against Minnesota and got the first two. I mean, they both got on base with no outs.
Yeah.
But then Peralta, that's when he got out of it.
I feel like Hill's he's come into some messes this year that other relievers have set up, but he hasn't gotten out of them. Like he's gotten bombed when he comes in, but he doesn't get charged with the runs. So I don't know, but that's obviously still not really good pitching. But I don't know. I've never been a big fan of Hill.
Peralta saved his ERA by getting out of that bases loaded jam with no out.
And his ERA is still 15. Jeez.
Oh no, he saved it. He saved Hill's ERA, I'm saying.
Oh.
We have someone who's like 54 right now, or like it's seriously like that high, I'm pretty sure.
I know Peralta's was up there, but I don't know.
Peralta's is really high, yeah. I think Boxberger's like 8 and 9 right now.
Kennedy's only toting a 3 ERA. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's not gonna last.
That's probably the lowest of besides like Hill, like of guys who have like. Well, I guess it would be Hill, yeah. But he's definitely one of the lowest.
What about McCarthy?
I don't know what his ERA is, but it's over 10. He's given up quite a few
McCarthy's ERA is massive right now. I think it was 9 before the Tigers game yesterday, like high 8 or like around there, and then he walked 2, so it's probably went way up around that. And then they scored on that grand slam. Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's probably 13 plus, and I mean obviously those numbers are going to drop a bit just as more samples come in, a larger sample size.
He pitches 1 scoreless inning, it's going to go down like 3-4 runs. Like it can't be that hard to do when it's 13. But yeah.
In the long run, though, I think a lot of these guys will be between 6 and 9 ERA wise, which is not good enough.
Yeah, I have a feeling Boxberger finishes high 3, maybe low 4.
Ooh, so you're high on him?
I wouldn't say. I guess relatively, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty average, which that's kind of about what I think he is. But Peralta maybe 5 or so. It's going to be a mess.
Zimmer's got the stuff. If he can stop walking guys, I could easily see him under 4. But his control has just been awful.
Here's one wild card I want to throw at you real quick about the bullpen. Danny Duffy you got to think he comes back and starts at some point. I mean, in general, starting pitching is more important to a team than being in the bullpen. But he's going to probably be in the bullpen for a little bit, kind of as he works his way back. I mean, that could help for a minute, and we need him we need him more so as a starter, but that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think he'd be good in the bullpen, but we just have no arms to start, so.
Yeah, I actually think Duffy in general, yeah, I know you can't keep him there, but I do think Duffy in general, he's a little more suited to pitch out of the bullpen. He was really good in the bullpen in 15. He's kind of like he's a very emotional pitcher, and I think guys like that typically do better in the bullpen because they don't have to they can pitch max effort, and that's like what a lot of people thought about Finnegan, for example. I don't know if it's a good evaluation or not, but I think
he just got cut, and I think we need to sign him.
Oh, that's not going to happen. After what we did to him, the development, he is not a Royals fan. I don't see that happening.
Yeah. I do wonder if there's any, relievers, if it's too late, if there's still some guys on the market we can, obviously not big names, but just someone we can get to get a few outs. Well, I mean, honestly, it's not going to be a good bullpen, but just something to help,
Love Lady. This is my Love Lady endorsement. This is the time.
Yeah. May as well try them. I mean, there's literally no way they can be any worse. That's the thing. I mean, you may as well give a young arm a shot. I mean,
what have the guys done that are playing right now? I mean, what have they done to not bring Lovelady up?
Exactly.
No.
You know, are we? Yeah. I mean, Diekman, is he really like worth pitching over Lovelady? I mean, I'm not saying like Lovelady will be good or anything, or Stallman as well. Either one of them really. But it's worth a shot. I mean, at least, you know, those guys give you some long-term, they have somewhat of a long-term outlook. Maybe.
Give them some reps, you know. I'd rather lose games seeing young arms figure it out than old has-beens, you know, confirming what I already knew.
500 pounds.
Yeah. And you know, and not just with the bullpen, but that's one thing I was kind of expecting this to be sort of the year where maybe we don't win necessarily a ton of games. We improved from last year, obviously. I mean, we won 57 games. Yeah, it looks like I was wrong. But I was thinking, you know, hopefully we'd, you know, get some like young, promising players to kind of step up and basically just be a more enjoyable team while losing this year than last year. But and you know, maybe on the offensive side, we have been with some players. I think, you know, O'Hearn, Mondesi in the homestand, but he was horrible in this Detroit series. Soler, whatever, Witt. But
I say something about Mondesi real fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's good and exciting, but I just think he's selfish. Like you see when we have a runner on third base, he doesn't do everything he can to try and get the run home. He wants to hit a home run. He wants to get his hits. I don't like that.
And he's just got such big expectations. He's trying too hard. You know, that happens to the young players, especially when ESPN had a headline about him, and now, you know, he sees that. So now he's trying really hard to, you know, fit that Lindor kind of mold. You know, the all-around five-tool player. It's a superstar, which, yeah, is a negative for the team.
Yeah, I noticed the same with Mondesi this past weekend. I mean, he's had obviously some really, you know, big bright spots early in this year, but this Detroit series was absolutely abysmal for him. And, you know, yeah, I agree with you, Zach. It was frustrating to see. You know, he was in a lot of spots where he could have driven in runs, but he was just, you know, as Hudler would say, he was muscling up. You know, he was, you know, he wouldn't just put the ball in play. He was trying to pull homers, you know, the second deck and right every time. In spots where really like we needed a run. I mean, I think he was pressing is the best way to put it. I don't know if it was selfish. I think he was, you know, he was playing hero ball.
Well, remember Hosmer did that a lot early in his career. 2013, I specifically remember him trying too hard. He had that big loopy swing. He's trying to hit 500-yard home runs. And he shortened up that swing a little bit. And you just try to do all the things right for the team.
Yeah. Well, I think it was 2012, that Hosmer year. 13 to some extent, but 12 he really struggled.
Yeah, 12 and 13.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think 13 we were actually a good team, 86 and 76.
Yeah, I think Hosmer got it going like the second half of 2013 a little bit. Like
he really cranked it up.
Yeah, I remember like midway through 13, people were like, "Oh, like Hosmer's a big bust," you know. But yeah, no, Mondesi's definitely. I mean, it's been one series. I mean, he's done you know, the first homestand he was excellent. He was really good last year. I'm obviously very high on Mondesi still, but I totally agree with Zach. He's got to learn situational baseball a little more. I mean, he's a young player still. It doesn't seem like he's necessarily that young just because we've heard his name float around the organization for like a really long time now, but he's obviously still got a lot to learn.
Yeah, he's still at least a couple of years from his like true prime, the beginning of his prime.
Yeah. I mean, I just hope whenever I see a young player like just even if it's a small like slump like you see this Detroit series where you get like a good hitless streak going, it worries me a little bit just because, you know, when guys struggle like for the first time in the big leagues, and obviously this won't be Mondesi's first time, but it will be his first time maybe since like he's like had success and then he's like going back to a slump. Yeah, you worry about how much he starts to press or if he can find his swing back. So that'll be interesting to watch over these next few games if Mondesi can just, you know, get his swing back. Hopefully he will.
Even if you slump, just try and put the ball in play for like a sac fly, anything to help the team.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah,
it's the same thing that's said about Hosmer in 12 and 13.
Yeah,
it's the same argument.
Yeah, and you look at like on the contrary to that, you look at like one player I think who's excellent at that, like who's been kind of tested like that and always seems to bounce back is Witt. I think Witt is like really good at that, and you know he he's like one of the most, or like one of the better situational hitters that I think in Major League Baseball, really. I think, if you want to look at like the prototype to that approach, there you go. I think he's excellent at that.
Gordon's been up like 4 times with a runner on third and 1 out. And
Gordon's been really good at that too. Yeah, you can tell with Gordon too. He's just he shortens up his swings, puts the ball in play when he needs to, and he's been pretty good so far this year. I've been impressed with Gordon's swing.
Yeah, he has 9 RBIs this year.
Yeah, I think he's taking quite a few walks as well. So yeah,
that's what you want from your veteran, batting third.
Yeah.
Now, like, we've been really negative this pod, but like, what's the one like good thing about the team in general that you're liking that you're seeing so far?
Well, obviously, this isn't necessarily for the team, but it's been fun watching Witt extend this streak every day. It's kind of getting a little real now. He's at 28. I mean, this is a seriously long hitting streak. It's like for the major league level, and he's kind of been down to the brink in some of these games, and he finds a way to get a hit. So I mean, that's been like a fun like subplot, I guess you could say at all these games.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Do you think when he gets to like maybe 50 games? If he does. If he does, yeah. No, when. I mean, okay. But do you think MLB Network will, like, show us at bat if it's that big of a deal?
I certainly think they will.
Oh, I think before 50. I think he gets to 40 and they will.
Think so?
Yeah. What's the longest hitting streak, like, recently in majors? I think it's, like, high 30s probably, like 35, 36.
There have been a few the last few years.
I think Pedroia, he had a pretty long one a few years ago.
Yeah. I think like the longest last year was like 32, 33. I forget who it was, but yeah. I think Adam Jones may have had a pretty long one at one point too. But
there was one Chase Utley had at 35 games in the 2000s at one point.
Yeah, the one thing that sucks about this hitting streak is I feel like because it's over the course of 2 years, like it kind of like loses steam, Like if it was like, I mean, it's obviously doesn't make it any less impressive. In fact, it's in some ways more impressive. But yeah, no, I don't think it would get the attention. And, I don't think Witt in general is a player that, gets that much attention, but, hitting streaks do get attention. So we'll see. I think, obviously he's got to keep it going, but it could start building some steam here. It's been fun to watch. He's
2 away from tying George Brett.
There's the longest in Royals history. If he can get 2 more, he's already second. So. Yeah, it's been fun. And, he's been playing pretty well. Obviously he's got a 28 game hitting streak. He's doing pretty well, but Witt's been Witt so far. I mean, good player, always fun to watch. I think Soler's done a lot of good stuff as well this season. If you want to keep going on other, things, I think he's been pretty impressive. He's taken some bad strikeouts, but that's kind of what Soler's going to do. He's a big power hitter. He's got to take some big swings, but yeah, he's looked like he's bounced back from his injury pretty well. Kind of where he left off last year when he went out. So I think that's been good as well.
I think, you took mine with Witt for sure. The hitting streak. Keller, first 3 starts, 19 innings pitched, 2.83 ERA. That's really good. That's what you want from your number one. Yeah,
and I think that was one of the things I was most nervous about with this team going into the year. It's just because, Keller was pretty good last year, but, I mean, this was a Rule 5 guy. Like, this wasn't a guy who was necessarily, some top prospect ever. He kind of came out of nowhere. You're thinking, okay, was that just a fluke? And, he doesn't have, he has some pretty good stuff as far as, his pitches have pretty good movement, and he locates the ball well, but he doesn't have, the highest velocity. He throws, 90, I think he, max, 95 is, the most I've ever seen a pitch from Keller, which isn't bad, but it's nothing special. But yeah, I mean, just to see him kind of, like we were talking about earlier, he's got to cut down on these walks, but without any significant regression from last year, that's a really good sign. I agree.
What about you, Zach?
There hasn't been much to like, but if I had to choose, I would say just the top of the order. They're doing a good job getting on base, using speed. And, I mean, that's the only time we can score. So,
yeah.
Not many positives.
I think you guys hit the nail on the head. Top of the order, of course, we'll talk about Witt, but Gordon, you have the table setters, Mondesi and Witt kind of get things started, and Gordon just does his best to get runs, to move guys. And then you got Soler, Power, O'Haron, he's been on fire. And then it's, off a cliff into a ditch.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of like, I'm going to be honest.
Owens.
Owens is by far the worst. Owens might be like the new Elliott Johnson, to be honest, from 2013. I mean, like, he's really like that bad. I mean, the guy just looks hopeless at the plate.
And we have the Mendoza line, the T-Card line, and the Owens line.
Yeah. And Maldonado, I mean, I know he's not necessarily a great offensive catcher, but he's got to give me something more than what he's giving me right now as well. I mean, he's been really bad. I don't think he's really thrown many guys out. He's had some like pretty shaky throws behind the plate. He's definitely not getting on base. His base running is horrible.
When he goes, yeah, it's not
no RBIs, no home runs.
Yeah, no, he's got to give me something more. I mean, this is our starting catcher. I know it's we're spoiled with Salvi to some extent, not necessarily offensively, but I mean, I can tell you this isn't really up to standards for major league starting catcher. I mean, it's early. I do think he'll probably get going to a little bit more. I know he's not a great player, but more than what he's doing right now. But I kind of like, I gotta say, like, I kind of like Hamilton. Like, he's, not a great hitter, but I like how he these past few games, I feel like he's just kind of like, he's really like short swing, just kind of dribble the ball around. Like, I like his approach. He's fun to watch. I mean, he got thrown out today on like a really weird throw, but he's been fun to watch just a little bit. Not necessarily good, but he's a cool player. I like him.
He's your typical 9.
I think he has like probably 10 or 11 hits, but in the 2 Sunday games so far, he has 3 apiece. So that's where it's getting him.
A lot of infield hits. It's nothing pretty to watch, but I like how he plays. I think Royals fans will, he's only here for a year, but they'll enjoy his time here overall. So that's not necessarily a game changer by any means. In my opinion, actually kind of an overrated player. This is a guy who's like very hyped up coming in, as a pretty top or high prospect at one point. Well, mainly just for his base stealing abilities, but a fun player for sure.
I don't think he's that fast.
I think Royals fans are kind of spoiled by it. We've had some really fast players. Or even Mondesi can fly, and Dyson.
Well, I'm going by my speed.
Well, so he should be really fast then.
No, I think I could beat him. I'm serious. I'm 20 miles per hour.
You think you can beat Gore?
Maybe. I could.
Oh man, you got to be more confident. Yes or no? Just say yes. Be bold. Yeah. Okay.
I think the bullpen has made Zach go crazy. It's all right.
No.
I want to talk about one person I want to call out here. Lucas Duda. Yikes. He has struck out like almost every time I've seen him. He struck out.
Yeah, he either strikes out or like dribbles like a very weak pitch to first base like every time. But
it's so hard to watch.
I don't know. I'm not going to be too hard on him either because I feel like Yost has been kind of weird with like getting him in the lineup. Like he's kind of just like on and off. Like, it's kind of hard for him, like, in the situations he's been in to get into a rhythm. But, yeah, he's been pretty rough. I mean, but.
It's only been 12 at bats, but I'm just looking at trends.
He's a veteran, so he's got to be used to that.
Yeah, that's true. And that's kind of what they signed him for as well. I mean.
Yep. Kind of a plug-and-pull player.
Yeah. I don't know. Another guy I haven't been too impressed with so far is Frank. They always say Schwindel. I always thought it was Schwindel, but yeah, he hasn't really shown me too much. He had a really terrible mistake at first yesterday. In some way, it cost him a run for sure with 2 outs, and he doesn't seem like he can really hit either. I mean, he finally got his first major league hit, but yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily have the highest expectations for him, but he doesn't look early on. He doesn't look like much.
And I'd say Dozier is about as bad as I expected.
Man, he's a little worse than even I thought.
He'll get occasional deep homer, but everything else, strike out, fly out.
I mean, he's 27. He's shown us nothing. You got to start to wonder when you start calling it a bust.
Yeah. You think? I haven't heard this come up as well, like at all. But you think any chance Cuthbert ever gets up
I hope
this
not.
season? You think? I feel like Cuthbert brings us a little more to the table, brings something more than Dozier does to the table personally. I mean, obviously that's not saying much, but we'll see. Cuthbert, of course,
I take Cuthbert over Dozier.
Cuthbert is not very good defensively, though. That's one thing. So I guess
we're bringing Cuthbert up, that means Dozier has went on just an unbelievably bad streak.
Well, that's not that unrealistic, though.
It isn't. That's why I'm hoping not.
Yeah.
I mean, Cuthbert's not that bad. He was around even when we were decent.
I think he was around replacement value.
Cuthbert had one
in for Moustakis, but
Cuthbert was all right, like for like a couple months in 16. But
he's fun.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think he's a good player by any stretch, but. I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's really like lesser of the two evils. Like, would you rather see Cuthbert or Dozier up? But
well, so Dozier was supposed to be like that was one of the future players. That was your cornerstone, kind of.
Actually, I think Cuthbert was at one point as well, though, like a longer time ago. But
much longer. But now he's just kind of in organizational depth. So if he comes up, that kind of tells me that the Dozier project is probably over.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I've accepted that. I accepted that the Dozier project was over even before he got called up last year. I mean, usually when a guy gets so close to the majors and kind of just stalls, you kind of see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I was really high on him when he was coming up originally, so it hurts a little.
Oh, he was big time when we drafted him. I mean, that was a guy, we drafted him in 13, I think. I mean, he was big time. We were, this was really at the time, supposed to be a next big thing.
He tore the cover off the ball in Wilmington. It was exciting.
Yeah. No, he was one of the last, like, really, him and Mondesi, when they were in the minors, were really some of the last, like, real fun prospects we've got to, follow. But then, yeah, just kind of, unfortunately for Dozier, just kind of he stalled. He couldn't really take that next step in his development. He's got a lot of tools, but it's just some miserable looking at bats where he just looked lost. So I don't know.
He's got that pop, but he looks lost on it. He almost looks overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He can get into one every once in a while, but it's not going to be good enough long term.
He does have the power for sure. I mean, like, he's got really good power, to all fields really, but, he can't make contact and, I don't know. He's an okay third baseman defensively. I personally feel like, I know the organization probably hasn't given up on him completely, but I personally feel like he is what he is at this point as well, but we'll see. You think any chance Bubba Starling gets up here? I know I've heard his name kind of floated around. I don't really see the need, to be honest, but, because I don't feel like our outfielders are that bad, but any chance that goes through?
He's not even worth talking about till he actually gets here. I mean, we've had this conversation 1,000 times.
Well, after his big spring, though, I think a lot of people were curious about that, but, I don't know, just something I've heard kind of pop up on message boards early part of the season here.
Maybe once we get past the trade deadline, might see him pop up, might see his name. He may, obviously when the rosters expand much later in the year. But I think before that, no, I think our outfield's pretty well set.
Yeah, I think that's a good point though, because there's probably a good chance Hamilton is gone at the deadline. He's on a 1-year deal, and I think some teams would probably like his speed. So yeah, I think there's a good chance he's gone, and then maybe bring up another outfielder. I'm kind of regretting this Goodwin, dropping Goodwin, because I saw like he's had a few big hits with the Angels early on this year. Like either he's playing there, like he sucked in spring. I think that was a little bit of a knee-jerk move to get rid of him. But
yeah, I don't understand what they saw, because he came to spring training in the best shape of his life. Obviously, he's putting in the work, so I don't know what really caused it.
He couldn't hit in spring training for sure. Like he was really bad. But I don't know. I just think that was
spring training.
To be honest. Yeah. I just think that was a little bit knee jerk. I mean, he's had some success at the major league level. I know we're kind of set in the outfield, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I would have liked him on the team more. I would have also liked to see Rosel Herrera. That was another. I didn't really understand that one either. I mean, I guess we were just so outfield heavy, but He's a guy who could play multiple positions for you as well. I mean, I would have rather seen what Herrera could do for the future than Owings. I mean, because I remember Herrera was playing all over the place last year. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't really know what this organization's up to right now.
I don't know if many of us do. You talk about speed youth and bringing up Duda, and it's like, a little strange.
Yeah. Witt's basically an outfielder now. He's played more right field than second base this year.
That's strange.
Well, to that point, Zach, that's I think Ned is mismanaging this a little bit, because I don't think we need to have Owings in the lineup every day like he pretty much has been, like, for the most part. I think what we should be doing is, I know his defense is not very good, but I think we should have Soler starting in right, and then put Witt at second. I think Witt's a really good second baseman defensively. I think we're kind of missing something there if he's not, on the field.
So you want Duda to be the DH?
Yeah, I think Duda should be the DH. I'd give him a shot. Or O'Hearn. They can flip from first and DH. But
right.
I think you have a pretty good power lineup, or a better power lineup if that's the case, and you get a pretty terrible bat out of the lineup as well. I think that's the best offensive combination, personally, but I don't know. I'm not the manager, so.
Well, I mean, I alluded to this in one of the preseason pods, maybe the last one we did, that I wanted to see Soler in right, despite terrible routes and maybe not being good ball handling. At least he has the arm, and he's a big bat. So there's a couple things there.
Yeah.
So that's just something I kind of agreed with. I see Soler in right.
There was a play today in right field when Castellanos was at third, and it was pretty shallow, but I mean, it's doable to run on, and they wouldn't run on him because they know Soler's arm, but.
Yeah,
there you go.
And I mean, Soler also had a really terrible misplay today on trying to cut a ball off, and I think it was the second inning, and they got scored. Like, he's not a very good defensive player overall, but I think they kind of look at Soler as, like, he has the potential to be better than he is now, but he's obviously got to work through that. So in a rebuilding team, I would let him play right, personally. He's actually, believe it or not, he's pretty bad out there, but he's actually better than he used to be. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing him his first year here. Oh, it was painful.
Well, imagine
with the Cubs, he had to play out there as well. I mean, there's no.
Imagine running on Alex Gordon, but not Soler. Yesterday's game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was. Yeah.
That was pathetic.
Yeah. Usually right fielders have some pretty strong arms, so I mean, Soler fits that bill.
I get those Frenchie vibes.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, terrible, like, fielding, but like just like a cannon basically out there.
Yeah, cannon. A lot of outfield assists. It'll be a fun outfield to watch this year. Billy Hamilton with speed.
Yeah, Gordon just like the all around like superior defense, and then Soler with the strong arm. Yeah. But then another part of it is, like, I don't think Witt's like that good of an outfielder, like average maybe. I mean, he's not bad. But I do think Witt's a great second baseman. So I think, like, you're missing out on that. Like, I think I want Witt at second. Like, I think Witt and Mondesi, that's a nice double play combo up the middle. So yeah, I mean, I think that's another thing you're missing. And then, and obviously, like, the big thing, get Owings out of the lineup. He can't really hit. He's kind of just, I thought we were just bringing him in to be a utility man, kind of like a bench utility man. It doesn't really appear like Ned thinks he's more like his everyday second baseman right now. So,
which blows my mind, but
yeah,
that's for another time.
Yeah, no, so, I've been a little bit more of a Yost apologist, I guess. I've always thought he was a pretty solid manager, but I've disagreed, quite honestly, with a lot of the moves early in this year from him. So, yeah, I would like to see some of that change. All right. Yes, thank you for joining. Y'all's truly. Hope the Royals can right the ship here. Still early in the year, not looking too promising right now, but just a weekend, a lot of baseball to play here. Go ahead, subscribe on YouTube to our channel. We'll be posting this podcast on Twitter. Check out our Facebook, check out our Instagram. Give us a follow. Give us, message us with any suggestions you may have. And we'll see you next time.